let's talk about how you started in the game in
Okay.
track
Well,
and field.
initially, I was a basketball player, and
Oh,
that was my favorite sport. And I love dunking on people. And I was really known for that, and really kind of still am. I even won some celebrity dunk contests, and I saw Mike Conley had won a couple of them also that we were in against other American athletes. But when it came time for me to decide upon what university to go to, the scholarship offers that I had were better for track and field, and so I chose to do track and field instead. And I was primarily a high jumper, so jumped 7 feet in high school, which I guess about 213, something like that. And then after long jump was an afterthought. And when my freshman year in high school in college, I did pretty well. I jumped like 7'1" and like 24/7. And then my sophomore year, I was hoping, okay, I want to go 25 feet, like 762, my first jump. And then I jumped 805, 26.5. And then from that
boy.
point on, I became a long jumper. And I tried to get better and better. And I just tried to get better and better each year.
Which school did you attend? Which schools did you attend?
Yeah, I graduated from UCLA. I started off at UC Irvine, but then I transferred to UCLA and I finished at UCLA.
And how was your time at UCLA and just going to the other school?
Well, UCLA was the best experience in the world for me. I transferred from UC Irvine because I just wanted to get to a bigger program. And when I transferred to UCLA, John Smith was just starting to coach there. So John's my mentor. And the experience there was great. I had some injury problems. I didn't get a chance to compete in the NCAA championships. I was ranked all #1 all through the year, but I got hurt. But we had an incredible team. I was a senior, but the freshmen on the team were Kevin Young and Danny Everett and Mike Marsh and Steve Lewis. So I graduated, and they were all underclassmen. They went on to win the championship, and obviously we all went on to make the Olympic team in 1988, along with Gail Devers also. So we had a really big group of talented athletes at the time. And also training at UCLA at that time was with Florence Griffith Joyner and also Greg Foster and Valerie Briscoe Hook, and Jackie Joyner Kersey. So watching them on the track every day, I got a chance to see what greatness was about. So if your goal was to try to make the Olympic team, it wasn't such a far-fetched idea. It was like, oh, you mean like that person? Or I want to be a world record holder. You mean like that person? So I learned how to work and how to believe and how to trust in what I was doing. So, it was a special time.
Well, this is Mike Powell, the world record holder that I'm speaking with.
Well, I feel really blessed, for the opportunities that I've had, the traveling and the people that I've met and competed against. Obviously, Carl Lewis at the top of the list, and Larry Myrick's and Robert Emian, Jaime Jefferson from Cuba. You know, um, throughout the years, when I was first coming up, I've always been a fan of the sport, so I was happy to compete against the legends of the sport, and then to be able to move up the ranks and to get to the point where I was at the top, was a really amazing thing. It was like to compete against, your idol, to compete against Larry Myers and Carl Lewis. It took me a while to get used to that, so I was used to idolizing them. And during my travels, the probably most influential person in my athletic career was Willie Banks. Willie was my idol from a young child, and then Willie and I became training partners, and now we're best friends. So my track and field
Mike,
experience has been amazing.
Mike, Billy Banks was trying to connect, so I had to decline him. But there was one, you talked about all these jumpers.
Yeah.
Robert Amian, tell me about him. And the whole world needs to know. He is now, I think, the president of the Armenian Federation. Great jumper. Tell us about him.
Yes, Robert Emian, a jumper from the former Soviet Union, and he jumped, 29-1. He was an amazing jumper, and I remember the first time I was going to compete against him. This was during the time when the Cold War was still going on. This was 1987. And I remember we were in Rome and we're going to a track meet, and I got on the bus and I saw him, and he had his back towards me, and I'm looking, I'm like, I'm gonna beat this communist guy, this Russian dude, I'm gonna get him, I'm gonna get him. And he turned around and goes, "Hi, my name is Robert." Blah, blah, blah. So we became like friends instantly. So we've been friends, throughout the years. He's an awesome guy. And, I see him all the time at all IAAF events or World Athletics now. But he's an awesome guy, awesome jumper. He has some injuries that probably prevent him from going even further. But he's definitely one of the ones who jumped beyond 29 feet. And he was an amazing jumper.
Well, my question is, could you remember what happened in Rome at the World Championships in Rome in the long jump?
Yeah, because I was that was my first full season over in Europe, and so I didn't have enough money to go home during the break during the World Championships. I didn't make the team, so I was in England actually, watching the competition and in London, and I remember Evangelisi, the jumper from Italy, going down and making a jump, and I thought, oh, that's okay, because you need to watch it on television, you kind of tell how far it is. And then the mark came up, and it was like 8:38, something like that. And we're like, what? There's no way that was that far. And I said, hey, but you never know what happens down there in Italy, man. It was kind of crazy back then. And then, months later, they found out that it was a bogus mark, that they put the mark in there because they wanted somebody from Italy to get a medal. And unfortunately, like for Larry Marx, it took away his opportunity to be on the medal stand. So, that's some of the crazy stuff that happens in the sport.
Well, I have a story from Rome. We were supposed to leave Rome on that evening, the evening before the last event, and I got pickpocketed. We had to go to the police, and my sister is a U.S. citizen. We had to go there, and it was something else. So we all had passes to go to ride back to the stadium. And because Carl was defeated by Ben Johnson,
right?
it was the first time that I saw him run. That competition was going to be something else. And as you said, afterwards, the Italian was taken out. Now, let's go on. You have a real competitor that you didn't mention, a Cuban. And he is one like me. They call me Scratch Finlayson, or because I always scratch. But if I did a good jump, it will go some distance. And who is that, my brother? Cuban.
Yeah, Ivan Pedroso.
Pedroso.
Yeah, Pedroso.
So tell me about your jump in Tokyo, or unless there's something before that.
Right. Well, yeah, just to mention Pedroso really quick, I forgot to mention his name. He was younger when I was competing against him, so he kind of did his thing after I finished, but he was an amazing jumper, and I saw he was going to do something really special. And actually, I'm kind of lucky that he didn't get the record. So, he got it when dated, but, that's the way things work.
Yeah.
But it
never counts.
What's that?
I say, when dated does not count. You can talk about how good it is, but it is not legal.
Well,
people talk about what wind they do, it doesn't count.
Yeah, but I mean, it counts for the competition because I jumped 29.6 wind dated, so it counts to me.
Yes. But tell us about Tokyo.
If you jump the distance, you jump the distance. I mean, you can't control what the wind is going to be. I mean, even so much,
not at all.
Even with foul jumps, when you jump a foul jump, you still jump that distance. So even if they can't write it down, you still have that memory. So I was always making sure that when I had big foul jumps, that I took note of it. And in 1989, 2 years before the World Championships in Tokyo, I had a big foul jump at our national championships in Houston. I ended up finishing second that year to Larry Myers. They jumped like 868. But I had a foul jump that was very close to being fair or foul, and they measured it. But then they called it a foul. So after the competition, the guy who was doing the measuring came after me and he said, "Hey, Mike, you know how far that jump was?" I said, "No." He said it was 29.2.5. It was 890. So at that point, I knew that I could jump the distance. So really, to me, foul jumps do matter because it shows you what you really can do, even if they can't make it official.
So, tell us about Tokyo, the world record.
Yeah, Tokyo was obviously really special. Carl, I was getting closer and closer to beating Carl, because Carl hadn't lost for 10 years. And, we were almost all conditioned to the point that, he wasn't going to lose. But I mean, to me, I just figured, hey, he's another man, so he can be beaten. And so to me, though, I felt like I had to like demonize him in order for me to beat him, because I was always like, I competed with a chip on my shoulder, used to being like the skinny guy and being underestimated. So Carl was the guy who I had to knock off. And I was getting closer and closer to beating him. And at the national championships that year before Tokyo, he beat me by 1 centimeter. So I knew that, and he had to do that on his last jump. So I knew I was ready to get him. So going to the World Championships, my training was at the highest point. I had my personal best and my training marks, and I was feeling really confident. And then the 100 meters, Carl Lewis broke the world record in the 100 meters. And he instantly started saying he was talking about breaking the world record. So I knew that I had to be ready to break the world record in order to win the competition. So my focus just became that. So days prior to the competition, I was just going over in my head, visualizing breaking the world record over and over again. I mean, I wasn't even speaking to people in the athletes village. I was so focused. People thought I was crazy, which I guess I kind of am and kind of was. But I was really, really focused and intent on breaking the world record. And so going to the competition, that was my focus. And Carl, and during the competition, Carl comes out like he always does and jumped far his first jump. And my first jump, was really a bad jump. I was trying to break the world record on the first jump, and I pressed. And then my second jump, I came down. I had a decent jump, and I thought, okay, that's probably about maybe 820, 830, maybe, maybe 27.4, 27.5. And the mark was 28 feet, was 850 something, 853. And I'm like, okay, if that was 853, then yeah, we got something cooking today. So unlike Carl, my jumps were always up and down. I was trying to figure out how to get my approach on, but Carl would always jump consistently all the time. So he jumped 28.6 first jump, and then he jumped like 28.11 on his third jump, and then his fourth jump, he went 29 2 3/4, the furthest jump in history. But the first thing I did when I saw the jump was look at the wind gauge, and I thought, okay, it's not a record though, I know that, but it was the furthest jump in history. And at that moment, I knew, okay, it's time. If I'm gonna do something, it's time to do it right now. And it also helped that at that moment, Carl was pumping his fist, and he ran by me and he looked at me, said, "Yeah, that's right, that's right." And I was like, ooh, he got me fired up. And I stood up and I got up on the runway, and I was going through my visualization, and I could feel it. I knew that this was going to be the jump. And so people asked me when I knew I broke the record, and I said before I started running. I knew it. I could feel it. And then so when I got into the air, I knew I was very, very high up into the air, more height than I usually had. And when I hit the sand, the crowd let me know that it was a world record, because it was the loudest crowd response I've ever heard in the stadium, with the exception of when Kathy Freeman won the gold medal in Sydney in 2000. That was the loudest I've ever heard.
Yes, yes.
But for me, there was, with that roar was the loudest that I've been a part of. And I saw the wind gauge was at 0, and I was just waiting. I knew it was going to be a record, I just didn't know how far. And the 895 came up, and I was so fired up and so excited. But Carl Lewis still had 2 jumps left, and Carl was we're used to Carl coming back on this last jump. So I figured, okay, Carl's going to come down. He's going to go about 9:10, and then I got to go about 9:20, and I hope he doesn't go 9:30. But the wind switched around, and fortunately for me, he was only able to jump, 2 more 29-foot jumps, 887 and like 883. Still some of the best jumps in history, but it wasn't enough to win. And I had my moment. That was the biggest moment of my athletic career. And I never would have thought that world record would still be standing today, 30 years later.
Well, Mike, I was in the stadium. I was on the opposite side.
Right.
I'm a triple jump freak.
Right.
I was not able to get over on your side.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a young man from the Bahamas who's a great coach. He coached the Sydney Olympic girls and in the event before that. And guess what? He was right there, and subsequently, the world body put that photo with you, and he was right there. It's just unbelievable.
Yeah.
Tell us about some of the events in Tokyo that we should talk about. We talk about the triple jumper. We talk about our hurdler, and go ahead. You can remember the great events in Tokyo.
It was an incredible meet. With the 100 meters, obviously, and Carl was breaking the world record. And I remember in the 200 meters, Michael Johnson was really ready to run really, really fast, but he ran into a really big headwind, so he wasn't able to run as fast. And then in the women's long jump, with Jackie Joyner-Kersee coming down and jumping really as far as she did, and she had some injury problems. Her foot like turned sideways on the board.
Yeah.
Because Gail and I were, teammates and really best friends at UCLA. So, I wasn't surprised to see the success that she had. She was always destined for greatness. And so, for her to do the thing that she did, out there was always exciting for me, because we were, like I said, best friends since college. So that made that much more exciting for me, because I had a lot of friends out there competing. I'm the friendly guy too, so I knew everybody. And I'm a big fan of the sport. So for me, I was always happy to be out there and watching the track meet. Even when I was competing, I wanted to watch and see what was going on.
Yeah. But one of the most significant things is that we're talking about longevity of world records. World records to be broken. Right. I had the situation. I'll go to that particular thing. I had the situation of seeing Carl in Atlanta.
Right.
And this fellow from Canada, he's a Smith, real good. And I was saying that Carl was going to win the long jump. And he said, definitely no. So as it was, Carl won the long jump. Carl won, and I'm talking about longevity of things. I mean, his ability, his record is not as long as yours, but still he was able to jump. So when did you retire in jumping?
I retired pretty much in '96 after the Olympics. That was pretty much my last go around to try to win the gold medal. I won 2 silver medals. And, you know, that was the one thing in my career that escaped me, was winning the gold medal in the Olympic Games. I won the world championship twice. And, you know, so it was really difficult for me. My Olympic experience in 92 and 96 was kind of tough, because 92 I got the silver, but I really felt like I let that slip away from me. I have to give Carl total credit. I mean, I have the world record, but, you know, Carl is the best jumper, you know, of all time, though, you know, with consistency over the years. And he was a great, great competitor. He brought the best in me as well as other people. And I just couldn't believe that he beat me in Atlanta. I just thought for sure I was going to get him there. But, you know, I had my injury in the Olympic Games and Olympic final. I tore the muscle in my groin, my hip. And that pretty much ended my career at that point. And I kind of dabbled around a little bit trying to come back and jump. But, you know, my heart wasn't quite in it anymore, because I realized at that point that my best wasn't necessarily going to win the competition. And so I wasn't motivated to train to maybe get third. So that's when I retired.
Well, let me ask you, forget the distances and everything else. If you look at the top 5 long jumpers, men, in history now, please remember that records are made to be broken.
Right.
But could you tell me the top 5? And you have to be in the top 5 long jumpers.
Okay, I said, okay, Carl's number 1. I put myself number 2. Ivan Pedroso, number 3. Number 4, I say, is a 3-way tie with Bob Beamon, Dwight Phillips. Bob Beamon.
Oh yes, oh yes.
Yeah, Dwight Phillips and Larry Myricks. So I had to tie. I put a tie for all those guys for 4th, and that will cover through 5th.
So let's switch a little bit. Nobody could live on their own. Some people do. But tell us about your family life.
Well, you know, I grew up in early years in Philadelphia, and you know, lived in inner city Philadelphia. So that was you know, I kind of learned the streets, you know, and learned that inner city life. So that toughened me up. And then I moved to California when I was around 11, and living in the LA area. You know, once again, you know, have be streetwise, but just being in a totally different environment from Philadelphia, where, you know, the weather was so great in LA, and I was playing sports all the time. And I always had support, you know, from my family to go out there and just, you know, have fun. They always came to my competitions. And so, you know, my brother actually was my idol, or is my idol. He got a drum when he was a conga drum when he was 15 years old. And he said he's the best percussionist in the world. And he practiced all the time. And he started getting these jobs with like Blue Magic and Norman Connors, and then Sergio Mendes and Kenny G.
Oh man, that's wonderful.
So now he's like one of the top percussionists in the world. His name is Ron Powell. So he was one of my biggest motivators, because he told me that if you work hard and believe in yourself, then you can do anything. So that's how I live my life. I still live my life that way. So I feel like if you work hard and believe in yourself, then you can do anything. Because I think that when I say anything, I think like if you can see it, then you can do it. You know?
Yes.
So it's like I wouldn't say, okay, I can jump 35 feet, but I thought I could jump 31. I really did. You know, because it's impossible to me. You know, and so like my world record, I feel like I left it way too short. At minimum, it should be 30 feet. You know, but
yes,
the injuries and things like that, you know, prevented that. So I'm still happy to have the record, but I really felt like I should be further.
Well, we talk about family life. Are you married? Do you have children or grandchildren? You know, we brag about children and grandchildren. I have three great granddaughters,
Right.
and then one great grandson. He's going to be one in the next month. Who do you have to
Yeah,
brag about?
I was married for 14 years, and I had two daughters from my marriage, but I had one daughter previous to that. And my oldest daughter, her name is Misha, and she's 26, and she competed in the Olympics for Canada. She was an alternate on the 4x4.
Oh,
Her ran for Canada, a great 400-meter hurdler. And then I have my two youngest daughters, Carly and Macy, are 16 and 17, and my youngest Macy is a great volleyball player. She also runs track also. And then my other daughter, Carly, is more a musician, and she's into boxing. But I love all my girls. I have three girls. I love them all to death, and they're all daddy's girls. When we get together, we just have a lot of fun, and they are the joys of my life.
so you talked about Norman Corners and those people.
Yeah.
I'm a guitar man.
All
Now,
right.
I tried to play the guitar, but it didn't work. But I have a nephew. He played the guitar, bass guitar, with the Sugar Hill Gang, and he came to the
Okay.
Bahamas in 1981. Now he's with a group called Living Color. Not in Living Color, Living Color.
Right.
So
Right.
he is one of the best bass guitars in the world. Is there anything else that you want to say, my friend?
Um, I want to say thank you. It's been a pleasure to know you over the years, and I'd love to get a chance to come down there to the Bahamas.
Oh yes, yes, yes. Oh, you remember we were in Moscow?
Yeah.
That's a topic for the next discussion. But the Bahamas is open, so let us know when you want to come down, and we will
Yeah.
arrange it.
If you got some young jumpers, I know there's some jumpers down there that are in need of having a great coach. And my thought is that the world record is going to go at some point. I like to be the person who's coaching the athlete to break it.
Yes. Are you familiar? You had to be familiar with George Williams
Yeah.
and Curtis Fry. Yes,
Yeah.
they are my good friends.
Yeah.
So
Definitely.
I look forward to speaking to you soon, and we will connect that. And I look forward to you talking again. Thank you
Thank you.
ever so much.
Thank you, Alpheus. I appreciate you.